Good morning, everyone. My name is Attorney Deani Winterfunde, and I wanted to talk about the Biden immigration bill and what it will look like. Um, so we do know that going back to how many years, maybe 4 years, maybe 3 years, because the first year of the Trump presidency, we didn't see as much restriction on immigration as we saw in the latter part. So in the former part, the world of immigration was pretty stable. There were not a lot of upsets that we witnessed towards the end or the middle and the end of the Trump administration. So I get a lot of questions asked in my practice, and they're asking, what will a Biden administration look like with all things considered? What will the Biden administration look like? Let me close the blinds, guys. I'm literally sitting in my office. Much better. So I'm literally sitting in my office, and it's a Saturday. I'm working from home today. But when we think about the latter part of the Trump administration and some of the things that we witnessed, some of the things that we saw, I'm curious to see what the Biden administration, what their take on immigration will look like. So we know under the Trump administration, there were over 400, yes, 400 policy changes as it pertained to immigration. Some of the big ones that come to mind might be the travel bans, right? The majority Muslim travel ban, and then the addition of the further countries later on. We also know that there were some restrictions as well. So there were all these restrictions that were placed on immigration, as far as if you're coming from a certain country, Nigeria included, or if you're in a certain category of a visa, some of our H2, some of our Js. We know there were restrictions because of COVID. At least that's how the president kind of rooted it. He rooted it in the fact that um, he rooted it in the fact that it was he rooted it in the fact that there's employment. Like, we need employment. For the purposes of employment, we cannot he had to restrict these categories of immigration. That is what we have seen. That is what we have witnessed. So for the most part, I think it's going to be an uphill climb for the Biden administration. I really think it is, because there's so much harm, so much wrong that has been done, that I cannot imagine having this quick fix where we see huge changes in the first 100 days. Biden on the campaign trail said within the first 100 days, he's going to propose an immigration bill to Congress for them to work on. I would love to see in that bill, and this is if little immigration law attorney in Tampa, Florida, has anything to say. I would hope to see something on DACA in that bill. Because if you think about DACA at its core, there's no pathway to naturalization or pathway to citizenship for any DACA recipient. Therefore, you can have someone who is receiving DACA who's just on this constant cycle. They're just on this cycle, meaning every 2 years they fill out an application, it renews their authorization to work, and then they're in this deferred state, meaning they won't be um, deported because they're in this deferred state. I would love to see something in that bill that pertains to DACA. Of course, we saw recently, just gosh, it's a new year already, late last year, the service started accepting DACA applications. This was based on a court case out of New York Circuit. So I would love to see if there is anything the if anything can be done for DACA recipients. I think so, because these are children that were brought here through no fault of their own. So in a Biden immigration bill, I want to see DACA. if I had my wish list. I think we will because he promised it on the immigration trail. I'd also want to see a lot of those travel bans lifted. We know there were a lot of travel bans that were in place, um, that were put in place by the current administration, by the Trump administration. We know a lot of the Muslim majority countries were affected. I want to see those bans lifted. I really want to. That's what I want to see happen. In addition, we can't help or we cannot ignore what's going on at the southern border. The Wait in Mexico program is just a nightmare. We know we have tons and tons of families who have presented themselves for all intents and purposes. They have presented themselves to the border, to immigration officers, and say, look, in my home country, I am being persecuted, I am being abused. Um, what do I need to do? Or I need some form of relief. And those individuals were turned around and they were not paroled or led into the United States as is customary or processed for their fear of persecution. What happened was they were advised to go back to Mexico. They literally waiting across the border for their cases to be heard. And COVID happened, understaffing, stricter immigration policies. So it's become like a nightmare, a cluster, if you might, at the southern border, with Mexico and the United States for all those people that are waiting. It's not going to be a quick fix for the Trump administration. It won't be excuse me, for the Biden administration. It's not going to be a quick fix, but I would want to see in the initial immigration bill, if there's one, there should be something talking about how are we going to fix the nightmare at our southern borders. So those are three things I think, that I would want to see accomplished in the first 100 days. I am always skeptical when it comes to at new administrations not getting things done, because here's the thing, the country is going through COVID, right? So unemployment is bad. People are still dying. So we have to think, we can't help but think or accept that immigration might take, um, I don't want to say back burner, but immigration might not be a full priority for as what we would hope as immigrants. I don't, let me know what you think. Maybe it will. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong, and immigration will be a priority of the of the Biden administration. I think it's going to be a little bit on the back burner. But if you ask me, those I think are three things that I would love to see happen under the new Biden administration. Remember, we did get DACA out of Obama too, under the second administration of the Obama, of former President Obama. That's where DACA came out of in 2013, was at least a temporary fix for these individuals who didn't have any status at all. They didn't have any status, so that was a temporary fix. So I'm hoping that we see something similar under the Biden administration. Let me know what you think. Comment and tell me what are some things that you want to see happen, in the Biden administration. Um, s- some of my colleagues are also saying a moratorium on deportation. So just hold off on all the deportations to make sure those cases are being handled well, that people do have a chance to have their cases heard. They have a chance to present, documents. I've heard my colleagues have said they would love to see that too. So I am curious, and you can too, list some things that you'd want to see happen on, on the Biden administration, if you had a wish list. So if we had a blank slate and President-elect Biden says, look, list three things that you want to see on the Biden immigration bill, list those and let me know, because I'm curious to see if our thoughts as immigrants, if we're on the same page, if we're thinking about this is what's important to me. I know and I'm going to get dinged for this, the new naturalization quiz. A lot of people are saying, wait, they want that. That's an insult. Here's the thing: the quiz used to have 100 questions. It now have 128. Some of the questions have been repurposed to be stricter. If I had a wish list, I wouldn't put that on my wish list, because in my mind, that's an easily fixable thing. Study harder for the quiz. So if I had a wish list, I wouldn't want to waste my capital on, oh, let's change the naturalization quiz. I would want to see movement in the immigration world, like movement for DACA recipients, movement for our neighbors at the southern border, movement for those countries that are experiencing, whether it's the Muslim majority countries or the Black and Brown countries, where we're seeing all those bans, those immigration bans, immigration restrictions. That's where I would want to see some movement, and not so much um, on a naturalization quiz. If I'm wrong, tell me that I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I feel. So those are my thoughts as it pertains to immigration, and as it pertains to some of the things that I would love to see happen in the world of immigration. I also want to encourage all of those who voted, because I know, just based on some of the media alerts that I've seen, where President-elect Biden has already to kind of almost backpedal a little bit. In one post, I think, or in one interview, he said, oh, it's going to be hard to fix, or something along those lines, almost like backpedaling, where that scares me. Like, you promised us on the campaign trail these things. So I would hope, as an immigrant, as somebody who voted in the election, that you would fulfill those campaign trail immigration promises. I want to encourage each and every one of you to make sure that you hold your local representatives accountable. Hold them accountable. Here's the thing: maybe we don't see a lot of changes from the top down, but we can see changes from the bottom up. In other words, call up your congressman, call up, the senator, call up your representative, call them up and say, this is my community. I belong to this immigrant community, and these are some of the things that we're asking you for. And it doesn't have to be these big changes. It can be small changes. For example, I know in North Carolina, the police departments are still enforcing 287G. So it's almost like the police department is an extension of immigration. If you don't want to see that in your community, you need to call on your local representatives, call on them to say, you need to outrightly ban and outrightly say, this county, Hillsborough County, Bronx County, Brooklyn County, whatever county you live in, does not support 287G. These are things that we can do at the local level while we wait to see what the Biden Harris administration looks like for immigration. That's kind of what I have on a Saturday. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I'm getting a lot of questions. Some individuals, some clients are saying, should I wait to file my paperwork until Biden Harris comes in? And I'm going to say no, quite frankly, no. I think if you have an immigration relief, go ahead. Go ahead and get those documents filed. Consult with an immigration lawyer, and do so. I'm going to ask you to like, follow, and share the Academy. All the information that you see will try to always keep you up to date with all things immigration law related. So go ahead and like that, share, let me know your thoughts. And until next time, my friends, walk good.